Good afternoon. My name is Sally Berkery and I'm the Managing Director of CEW UK. Digital now has a disproportionate impact on the path of purchase, and yet we know that consumers still really value the human touch, especially when it comes to beauty. In the past weeks and months, we've talked about the acceleration of AI, VR, AR, and what the impact of the pandemic could mean for the retail sector as we move forward. And today I'm really delighted to welcome the team from Spring Studios, who will be discussing the key ways that beauty brands and retailers can leverage the power of AR, VR, and live streaming to pioneer the new frontier of virtual retailer marketing to drive higher levels of conversion and engagement for their brands. Please do ask questions via the Q&A panel at the bottom, and we will try to answer all of these at the end. Without further ado, I'll hand over to our guests from Spring Studios. So over to you.
Thank you very much indeed for that introduction, Sally. I'm actually another Sally. I'm Sally Ann Lim, and I'm the Head of Insights at Spring Studios. I'm delighted to be sharing this presentation with you today. So just to kick things off, I wanted to give you just a brief overview of why this area of innovation is particularly top of mind for us right now. So digital has absolutely been accelerated by the pandemic, but is here to stay. If we can just move to the next slide. Perfect, thank you very much. And as Sally said, it now has a disproportionate impact on the path to purchase. And just a nice quotation here from the eMarketer principal analyst to illustrate this. So much more pre-shopping, product and brand discovery now happens on digital channels that by the time the customer makes it into the physical store, if indeed they do ever make it into the store, they are much more ready to convert. And yet, in spite of this digital dominance, consumers still really value that human touch. Moving on to the next slide. And as Sally says, this couldn't be more true or more relevant for beauty. So moving on, there's three key pieces of technology that I want to talk to you about today. The first two are augmented reality and virtual reality experiences, which can really help to bridge that physical and digital divide. Whether more playful or practical in their approach, these experiences invite consumers into the heart of the brand to explore, engage, and actually also transact. And then thirdly, live streaming. So what's really interesting is that live streaming initiatives actually tap into some really quite powerful psychological motivators, such as instant gratification, fear of missing out, and suspense. Because once you go live, anything could happen. And as a result, live streaming has proven to drive high levels of engagement, increase conversion, and can provide consumers with a really intimate and unique access into a brand's world. Now, it's fair to say that these technologies in and of their own right aren't entirely new, but historically you've maybe needed an expensive headset in order to access them, or the aesthetics are quite lo-fi, which has been very off-putting for beauty brands, or simply just that the user experience is quite clunky and unsophisticated, and as a result, they've not really historically been able to go mainstream. However, in recent months, we've seen a real spike in innovation, and excitingly, a lot of that innovation has come from the beauty category. So in today's presentation, I hope that I will show you that the pioneers in this space are really looking to raise the bar, not only in terms of their reach and virtual creativity, but also in terms of their customer experience, and all crucially whilst delivering on their brand equity. So the structure of today's presentation is that I'm going to be walking you through the 10 key ways we've identified that beauty brands and retailers can leverage the power of AR, VR, and live streaming to pioneer this bold new frontier of virtual retail and marketing. Kicking off with number one, experiential e-commerce fuels discovery and conversion. Now, virtual technologies are being used to help translate that tangibility and serendipity of product discovery into the digital realm. And it will come as no surprise that in recent months, there was a spike of interest in virtual stores, particularly as brands and retailers sought to mitigate the drop-off in browsing rates that they experienced as their physical stores were shuttered. But actually, even as stores continue to reopen, these e-boutiques still appeal because actually, unlike their physical counterparts, they're open 24/7, they're globally accessible, and they can provide really immersive retail inspiration. There's also a very compelling commercial incentive. One of the leading technology providers in this space, a company called Obsess, have reported that virtual stores can drive increases in engagement, conversion, and loyalty rates in excess of 70%. Now, on the right-hand side here, you can see that Balmain has really embraced the unbridled creativity that VR can unleash with its fantastical new virtual headquarters and showroom, which comes complete with an avatar of their creative director, Olivia Rousting, who acts as your guide and host for the experience, So some nice food for thought there for beauty brands for whom the founder or their makeup artist might be a key part of their brand story. Moving on, these two further examples nicely illustrate the two key ways that we're seeing brands and retailers approach the virtual store. On the left-hand side, Dior has elected to translate its iconic Avenue de Champs-Élysées store online, where online shoppers are invited to walk around the shop floor, interact with product and content, just as they would in-store, and of course, to shop. And just like the real-life store, this photorealistic version will be refreshed regularly throughout the year to reflect the key looks and products of the season. On the right-hand side, Lancôme has created a flagship virtual store dedicated to its advanced Gamification franchise. And what's interesting about this example is that it includes a range of really interactive initiatives. So consumers who visit this space can take a personality test that's been developed by a leading psychologist. They can upload a selfie to have a skin analysis done by AI intelligence. They can chat live to one of Lancôme's experts. They can attend a live streamed event that's hosted in this space and that's done in partnership with a range of different celebrities and influencers and Lancôme experts. And ultimately, of course, they can also purchase products with a range of different innovative personalization opportunities available to them. So really smart use of the technology. Moving on, number 2. So virtual is being used to enhance the in-store experience. So there has been some innovation in this area for a couple of years now, but in recent months, brands and retailers have really sought to leverage virtual to overcome some of the detractions of social distancing measures that have been applied in their physical retail spaces. Now, the majority of these initiatives just leverage the simple smartphone that we all walk into store holding in the palm of our hands to unite physical and digital and to engage, educate, advise, and even reward. Now, on the right-hand side, Clarins is one of the beauty brands that has announced it's going to be rolling out QR codes on their secondary pack and also pairing them with point of sale. So it's fair to say they're having a bit of a renaissance. The way it works is that customers can use their cameras to scan this code and unlock additional rich and interactive content. The idea being that it offsets the fact that beauty testers aren't necessarily available to them. But I think what's important to note here is that it's not simply about leveraging the functionality, it's about having some really rich and educational and interactive content for customers to discover and unlock. Moving on. Japanese prestige skincare brand SK2 has actually had its Magic Scan technology for a number of years now. Magic Scan is an AI-enabled skin analysis that offers you personalized product recommendations by scanning your skin. But the new innovation that they've developed is that they've managed to make this feature totally touchless. So they're currently experimenting with these magic mirrors at their travel retail stores and at various pop-ups. And the nice thing about them is because they respond simply to hand gestures and to face, you don't have to touch them. They're very COVID friendly. And on the right-hand side, an example from outside the beauty category, but it's so innovative, I really wanted to include it. In July of this year, Burberry debuted their innovative Shenzhen store, and it's really being hailed as a pioneer in the virtual and social retail space. So the way that this works is that visitors download a WeChat mini app that they use in store, and this can be used to book in-store services. You can also request items to be sent to your fitting room. You can even request your chosen playlist to have as your soundtrack to your fitting room experience. You can also use it to scan QR codes to learn about new products and unlock exclusive content. But I think even more interesting and a sign of what's to come in the future, they are also using this app to reward customers for every interaction. So everything you do, your little avatar that you can see here hatches from an egg into a fully fledged mammal, and you also unlock some special rewards. And these include the ability to be able to order exclusive items from the in-store cafe menu, as well as gaining access to their innovative Trench experience, which is a digitally empowered room, which is designed to help you create some really great and shareable social content. Moving on to point 3. AR try-on tools offer the ultimate try before you buy. So again, this technology isn't entirely new, but it's certainly gained in both traction and actually also sophistication in recent months, as consumers look to experiment with these kinds of tools in lieu of being able to experience the real thing, both as they shop online and also in store. Now we can no longer have beauty testers made readily available. And to illustrate how engaged consumers are, actually having one of these tools integrated on your site can increase the time spent by 101%, so really quite staggering. The example here from Estee Lauder is interesting because alongside the more expected, lip color try-on and other functionality, it also actually offers precision foundation shade detection, which is powered by AI deep learning. So the technology uses a base of almost 90,000 different skin tones to enable consumers to find their perfect match in real time. And then also gives them the option to see it virtually applied so they can see what their stay-in-place foundation would look like. Moving on, a couple more examples in the AR sphere. On the left-hand side, one from hair care, which I think is super interesting. So Madison Reed is actually a US-based hair care and color brand, and they've developed this virtual try-on app, which has a number of cool features. So the first that you see illustrated here is that it allows you to do your very own before and after. So obviously on the left-hand side of the image, you can see your current hair color, and on the right-hand side, you can see a virtual simulation of what it would look like if you were to use one of their shades. And they said that this is a real cincher for people using the app. It also has inbuilt photo recognition technology, so you can upload a selfie and then it matches your shade color to give you the perfect recommendation from their range for the color that you want to achieve. Finally, and I think really smart, and I'd like to see more retailers and brands doing this, they're actually also using the data that they get out of this AR experience to identify gaps that they have in their color range. And then it's amazing. So they can go in, formulate their colors, and then they have a ready-made waitlist of consumers who actually want them. And on the right-hand side, I think what we're increasingly seeing is that the best in class are actually looking to make these AR tools really seamless and also shoppable and intuitive to use, often by actually integrating them within social media platforms that customers are already active on. In the example of NARS Cosmetics, it's integrated within Instagram and Instagram checkout. So you can browse through NARS's range of different products and also their different shades and try them on just as you would a filter. And then if you see something that you like, it's a simple click to add to bag and check out through Instagram checkout. And they're also trying this on a range of different other social platforms. TikTok and Snapchat are starting to offer this kind of functionality, which is a sure sign that people are trying to reach that lucrative Gen Z audience with these kind of experimental try-on tools also. Moving on to point 4, live consultation provides next generation customer service. So it's fair to say clienteling has got a serious virtual upgrade. These two-way, one-on-one video conversations enable consumers to speak to experts in real time, receive personalized product advice, and to see product details close up, such as swatches. So they're really recreating some of the hallmarks and humanity of that in-store experience for consumers who are shopping at home. And again, it's really commercially attractive. So one of the leading technology providers in this space, Hero, has said that customers who interact with live consultation services are actually 21 more times likely to convert and can spend up to 70% more. And something that I found particularly interesting is that it's actually also proven to help drive footfall to physical stores, with 1 in 3 consumers electing to go into a store after using a brand's live consultation tool. Now, on the right-hand side, skincare brand Deciem rolled out their Deciem at home service initially as a kind of lockdown measure and a way to pivot their sales staff whilst their physical stores were shuttered. But actually, they've subsequently announced it's something that they're going to continue as an evergreen initiative because it's proved so popular. Consumers really like the fact that they can have a very honest, makeup-less skincare consultation with one of their experts, one-on-one, personalized from the privacy and comfort of their own home. And also it's very on brand for them. Obviously, Deciem is well known for providing pure products and distinctive formulations, but customers often therefore need a little bit more help in finding their own bespoke regime. So it's a nice way to provide that education and that service. Moving on. On the left-hand side, a really nice example from the fragrance world. And obviously it is so hard to find a fragrance, a new fragrance in particular, online. So what this niche brand Sana Jardin Paris have started doing is that they're offering these discovery sets. So for £40, you buy this set and it gets sent to you in the post. It includes 8 2-milliliter vials of their signature fragrances. But complete with this discovery set, you actually get a complimentary one-on-one Zoom consultation with one of their fragrance experts. So you book this appointment, you log on, and for about 20 to 40 minutes, they take you through the different fragrances, give you tips on how to wear them, and help you to find your favorite. And they also talk to customers a little bit more about the brand and their really compelling sustainability story. The £40 actually includes a £10 voucher, which is redeemable against a full-size product. So really nice, both as a gift and also as a way to kind of overcome that barrier of investing in a fragrance when you're not actually sure what it smells like. And on the right-hand side, Atelier Chanel Beauty have been offering a range of virtual beauty classes. So the way that it works is that consumers can book an appointment with one of their experts. They can choose to have a one-on-one skin consultation, a personalized makeup tutorial, or even a brow consultation. All of the products that are discussed during the video session, they're sent in an email, so it's really easy for them to shop the products that they like. And actually a really nice initiative is that they can actually extend the invitation to a friend if people want to add a social dimension to the experience, which is really rich for beauty, which is such a kind of social category. Moving on to point number 5. Live shop along delivers cut through and conversion. So these sorts of QVC style live shop alongs have actually been commonplace in China since about 2016, and they're hugely popular over there. It's already this year reached 500 million consumers. To put that in perspective, that's 62% of China's internet users. Over there, live commerce is a really popular way for consumers to learn about new brands and products, engage with charismatic hosts, and crucially, to shop. But I think what's been interesting to see in recent months is that Western brands are looking to leverage learnings from these established Chinese players and actually creating live stream content and shopping initiatives for US and Europe-based audiences. One such example is Urban Decay, who around the time of Pride hosted a series of live stream shoppable makeup tutorials. They were hosted by their head of education and their chief makeup artist, so a nice way of leveraging your internal talent. And as you can see, customers were able to interact and ask questions of the makeup artist as they did the tutorial, with products available to purchase along the bottom. And an interesting point to note at this juncture is that while in China they already have a plethora of native platforms that combine this live streaming with social interaction and shopping, actually in the West it's still fairly nascent. So a lot of brands are having to find alternative ways of doing this, promoting these kinds of initiatives on their social channels, and then working with a tech provider such as Livescale or Bambusa to host these experiences on their own channels. But there is a sign that Instagram is going to be getting in on the act, and I've got an example to share with you shortly. But moving on, I've got a further example here from Estee Lauder companies who've been working with Bambusa, one of the leading Swedish tech providers in this space. This is an initiative that they did for Clinique. They partnered with their brand ambassador, Amelia Clark, who shared her skincare and makeup regime from the intimate setting of her own bathroom. And I've got just a short clip to show you here.
Oh my goodness, hi everyone. These are such lovely messages. This is so nice. We're in my bathroom. That's a little intro for you guys.
So as you can see, consumers were able to interact by sharing their love hearts and also asking comments and questions of Amelia as she guided them through her regime. And on the right-hand side, you can see that sort of on white backgrounds, the products that she talked about and featured popped up, and people were able to shop them live within the stream. And across the brands, Estee Lauder companies have used this same formula. Because it is fairly new, they're relying on using kind of big name celebrities, influencers, brand ambassadors, makeup artists and founders to really gain attraction for these new initiatives. But I'm sure that we'll see them continue in the future. Incredibly excitingly, in July of this year, Instagram started very quietly experimenting with making their popular Instagram Live feature shoppable. And I think what's really interesting is that the place that they decided to start this was indie beauty brands. So in one such example, they partnered with beauty influencer Nikita Dragon, who hosted a live streaming demonstration of her Dragon Beauty color correcting product. Now, it was hugely popular. It had 43,000 views. It generated 33,000 product page impressions and 5,000 products that added to a live stream, added to bag during the live stream alone. And actually the product itself totally sold out a couple of hours after the live streaming. So I think it's a really interesting sign of what's to come, and I'm sure that more brands will roll this functionality out on Instagram, which will make it all the more accessible. TikTok is also looking at getting in on the app, although they've not yet done so for the beauty category. Moving on to point number 6. So virtual creates launch events with real impact. This shift to the online first product debut is really challenging brands to think much more creatively in order to achieve cut-through in this increasingly crowded digital landscape. And while some are using virtual and live to expand the reach of these launch events, what's interesting to see is others are actually experimenting with more intimate and invite-only launches. And I've got a couple of examples from both ends of the spectrum. One of my favorite examples from recent months has actually been at the party that Marc Jacobs held in collaboration with Coty for the launch of his Perfect fragrance. Now, the way that this worked is it was promoted on the brand's Instagram channels in advance, so people had to register to attend. So it was a really nice way to do data capture. And on the day, the event was hosted via Zoom. It opened with an exclusive performance by pop star Kim Petras. And then I think in a really nice touch and a nod to actually that more interactive element of the sort of physical event, customers were able to line up to have one-on-one experiences. These included having your photo taken by a New York-based photographer, having your portrait drawn by their illustrator who'd worked on the packaging and the campaign, and even a live performance artist writing them a poem. And what was really nice is that all of these were then shared with the customers so that they could actually then share them on their social media. So they had a really nice takeaway from the virtual event. There was even a drag room hosted by there was even a club room hosted by drag artist Shangela, and the whole thing culminated in a Q&A with Marc Jacobs and some of the famous faces from the campaign. Now, moving on, I mentioned that some brands are choosing to do these more intimate events. So actually an example from outside the category, but back in May, and I think we've got a little video to play here, Valentino actually hosted an invite-only virtual event to celebrate the launch of its backnet sneaker range. So for the event, they collaborated with innovative digital artists and Berlin-based creative collective Sukut and Bratwurst, who created this amazing digital art, which was debuted at the event. And the art's really nice because it showcases in a really innovative way the key features of the sneakers, something that I think arguably could be applied to products in the beauty category. What was really nice is that attendees of the event also had a one-on-one with a virtual assistant who helped them to customize their own pair of these sneakers. So they received a really nice tangible takeaway of this virtual event. And on the right-hand side, really, I think setting the benchmark in this sphere, it's fair to say that Rihanna knows how to throw a party, and even going virtual didn't stop her. So to celebrate the launch of her new Fenty Skin range, Rihanna opted to host a house party, but a virtual one. It included a range of different virtual rooms. There was a bar where people could receive a custom cocktail recipe, a spa where people were able to discover the products from the new Fenty Skin range and of course shop them also. A living room where Rihanna was joined via live stream by a range of celebrity guests, including Lil Nas X. And there was also a live DJ set. And we've got just a short video here to give you a sneak peek of what the whole experience looks like.
Good, come on in.
I love it too. Thank you, Sean. It look real?
It looks real.
What's up, Lil Nas X?
Thank you for showing up. This is a brand that I'm really, really passionate about. I've been working on for a few years. Thank you, guys.
So as you can see, super cool, super fun and engaging and interactive, and able to reach a much broader audience than the actual, physical event would have. Number 7, virtual experiences engage and educate beauty enthusiasts. So a broad range of edutainment initiatives have gone live, including tutorials and masterclasses. But what's interesting about these is not only do they facilitate interactive education by giving people direct access to experts, but they can actually also help to cultivate a sense of community amongst attendees and beauty enthusiasts. I think one really nice example from Space NK is that they recently launched their online platform Space Live. Now, working in collaboration with their community of partner brands, makeup artists, and skincare experts, they're hosting a range of masterclasses, tutorials, Q&As, and even follow-along at-home facials. Some of the events are hosted via Instagram Live, but others are kept more intimate. They're registration only, and they're hosted on Zoom, so that the people who attend also have an opportunity to interact with one another, as well as gain that kind of really more intimate expert learning. Moving on, 2 further examples. So I think this is interesting. In the fragrance sphere, the Experimental Perfume Club has actually launched a range of online perfume classes. So they start at complete beginner, and the example that you see here is totally free for people to access. But they go all the way up to a 6-week fundamentals of perfume creation class. And the way that it works is that people who attend these courses get access to tutorial videos. If you sign up to the slightly more advanced tiers, you even get sent almost 30 ingredients, lab equipment and workbooks, as well as access to a series of online tutorials. And at any time, if you have any questions, you can chat live with the tutors. So I just think a really nice way to engage people in the world of fragrance from home. And on the right-hand side, Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop has been hosting weekly 1-hour live streamed sort of wellness sessions. They're either hosted by Gwyneth Paltrow or one of her online editors, made famous, of course, by the Goop Labs program. They're totally interactive and geared for audience interactivity by having a chat panel on the right-hand side, and they're really accessible. They're hosted just on YouTube. To date, they've seen a series of spirituality workshops, makeup tutorials with experts like Beachy Westman, sound baths, and even breathwork classes. So a really nice way of extending beauty out into the wellness world and making it live and really accessible. Moving on to number 8, virtual experiences amplify brand and product narratives. So I think brands are increasingly finding really innovative ways to use their digital portals and content to immerse consumers in their worlds. And they're creating some really engaging, entertaining, evocative, and distinctive storytelling, such as this example from Pat McGrath. So hopefully the quality of that was okay on your screens as well. But she's really leveraging the power of virtual and digital. And that actually created an entire Labs TV channel where she shares different videos to showcase new products and inspiration behind all of her collections with this really distinctive and futuristic aesthetic that's very on brand for Pat McGrath Labs. Moving on to further examples. On the left-hand side, again, one from outside the category, but I think it's really interesting. In true Kanye West style, he threw the e-commerce rulebook out of the window with his new Yeezy Supply website, which rather than just inviting customers to browse through products in a very static way, instead sees them leverage the power of VR to have people try on the garments that you browse in real time. And you can also interact with them and learn about their stories, bringing really a richness and texture to the online shopping experience that we haven't seen before. And I think you could arguably see the applications of this in the beauty world, where you could have, different people and personalities try on makeup looks live as you interact with products. On the right-hand side, I wanted to include another example which speaks to this challenge that we all have around selling fragrance online. So this is actually from a couple of years ago, but very innovative for its time. Somerset House actually partnered with Coty to host this Selling Scent exhibition. Now, it has both an online and an offline element, but the kind of key feature with it was that they worked with a series of 10 different digital artists to create short films, which really evokes the experience of different iconic fragrances. And we've got an example for you here. So just really interesting, a creative way of thinking about how you can express a fragrance beyond people being able to smell it with these kind of really evocative soundscapes and imagery. Now moving on to point number 9. This is one of my favorite points. Gamification drives next level engagement. So gaming and esports usage have surged in recent months. Verizon reports that in the US, gaming usage is up 75%. And actually there's a growing female audience also. Today, females account for 46% of all gaming enthusiasts. So brands are really taking note, either rolling out their own new gamified experiences or collaborating with existing gaming platforms. And I think one of the surprise runaway winners from this year has truly been Nintendo Switch's Animal Crossing New Horizons. And one of my favorite examples from the beauty world, I think the fact that it has a super open platform has meant that it's become the unlikely ally of many beauty and fashion brands, is this one with Tasha. So Tasha decided to collaborate with Animal Crossing to promote their new rice wash cleanser. And they actually created an entire island, Tatcha Island, that take game players in a site can visit. And it was really sort of channeling the brand's Kyoto roots, and they created this iconic self-care getaway. So when players arrived on the island, they could make themselves a little bit more comfortable by slipping into either a hoodie or a robe, of course in the brand's signature purple. They could then enjoy a series of different traditional Japanese wellness rituals, from an onsen spa to the tea house that you see pictured here, and even enjoy meditation in a bamboo forest. And for those who wanted more of an educational element to their experience on Tatcha Island, they could go down to the rice paddy, where they were greeted by an avatar of Tatcha founder Vicky Tsai, who took them on a guided tour explaining the ingredients and the inspiration behind the product. And in a really nice final flourish, they actually hosted a scavenger hunt within the program. So players could go around and they tried to find a rice wash cleanser. And if they were successful in doing so, they were actually rewarded with a travel size version of the product that was sent to them in real life. So just a really fun and playful way of getting involved in this very popular platform. Moving on. Gucci has a number of different games within their arcade, and they've really talked about the fact that they use the arcade section of their app to really connect with this kind of younger generation of Gen Z consumer who maybe doesn't have the spending power necessarily, but still wants to connect with the brands. So they've created a range of games themed around their beauty products, and we've got a little video here of the gameplay inside their Gucci Bloom program. So this is the way that it works. It's sort of channeling the campaign itself. You go through and you select your avatar player from one of the fashionistas, fragranceistas, who is the face of the campaign. And then you can see what the gameplay looks like. So the idea is that you go through and you cast your fairy beam to make the flowers bloom, and it gets quite fast. It's actually quite difficult. I've tried playing this, but just a really fun way to engage people in products. They also hosted the mascara hunt, which is like a bowling alley game in promotion of their L'Obscure mascara. And on the right-hand side, a slightly more grown-up luxury example. Dressed is a really innovative fashion and beauty gaming app that was created by former Porter editor Lucy Yeomans. The way that it works is that gamers are set daily styling challenges where they dress photorealistic avatars. And if they like the clothing, they're able to shop it on Farfetch. And they've recently made a debut in the beauty category in May of this year, working in partnership with makeup artist Mary Greenwell. So Mary Greenwell has created a range of iconic looks that can be applied to the looks with a single tap. But they've also talked about the fact that in future they intend to work with a range of different beauty brands. They already work with 160 fashion brands, so I'm sure that won't be hard to do. And I wonder also whether there might be a shoppable element to the beauty proposition also. But as you can see from the elevated look and feel, this really is gaming for grown-ups, and has proven quite popular. So it's not just the sort of younger Gen Z audience who can get involved in gaming. It's actually a slightly more mature audience too. Now moving on, my final point, number 10, virtual fuels new levels of remote creativity and collaboration. And I think it's fair to say, rather than seeing social distancing as a restriction, innovative brands, retailers, and agencies are actually seeing live as an opportunity to embrace more unexpected international collaborations and really unleash new levels of creativity. From Zoom-based casting and styling sessions to shoots directed and captured via FaceTime, creative users of live direction and capture are actually fast establishing the precedent for an innovative and, from our experience, actually very productive new way of remote working. And just a little BTS example for us to end on here on the right-hand side. This is actually a behind-the-scenes look at the shoot that we did for a Finnish beauty brand, Lumine. And you can see across the top, it's our London-based creative and production team who supervised this shoot via Zoom, while a team who were working in Denmark and totally local talents, where the R rate was lower and social distancing restrictions more relaxed and meant we were safe to shoot, actually did the shoot directed remotely, which is really smart. And we continue to make learnings and breakthroughs in this area every day as we are challenged to work in this way. And so to bring me to my final slide, a bit of an eye chart, but hopefully I always like to take a screenshot, a nicely screenshotable summary of the 10 key ways that I just talked you through. So as you can see, it's fair to say that some are much more immediate and easy to achieve, whereas others require a little bit more thought and investment. But I know at Spring, we're really excited to see what the future holds. So thank you very much indeed for your time. I think we've just got an opportunity for a Q&A, so I'm going to go in here now. if there are any questions you want to ask at this juncture, please do so. I'm just going to go through the ones that we've already received. So somebody has asked, do you think the virtual marketing trends are here to stay even after an effective vaccine is found, or will things go back to the old normal? I think that's a really interesting question. It's fair to say that there's been a huge acceleration, and some of these initiatives do feel like a little bit of a COVID fix or a workaround, and things have started to return to normal. But I think in other areas, it's just really accelerated innovation. I know a number of beauty brands have said it's really propelled them into this kind of e-commerce journey, and they've achieved a lot more than they ever envisaged achieving in such a short, condensed amount of time. It's interesting to see that a number of brands such as Deciem have said that initially things like live consultation that they offered simply as a kind of workaround while their stores were shuttered are actually things that they're going to continue to offer long term. And I think, particularly things like live streaming have opened up a whole new range of really interesting and dynamic shopping opportunities for people. So I think there's a lot of innovation that's here to stay. It's just simply accelerated the trend. Another question that we've had in, I think this is a very good one to ask. What are the most common mistakes that you see brands commit when using VR or live streaming technology? At Spring, we always say, don't innovate for innovation's sake. When you're thinking about investing in this or launching a new initiative, always think, about two key things. Firstly, about your brand, because the experience really needs to be on brand and on brand equity and delivering your message. And secondly, think about your end consumer. Who is it that's ultimately going to interact with this initiative, and does it really answer a key need for them? And I think if you can answer yes to both of those things, then absolutely go ahead. But I think it's always worth having that evaluation stage versus just getting seduced by sexy new innovations for the sake of it. And then a final question that's come in: between AR, VR, and live streaming, which we think will have the greatest impact on client customer engagement in the next 5 years? I think that's a very good question. I think what we've seen in recent months is that AR tools work really well when they actually have a practical purpose. So I think previously it was the days of like, oh, I wonder what I'd look like if my hair was pink. But now actually they're increasingly helping people to make a really informed purchase decision, such as that Madison Reed hair color example. And I think the recent shift has also been to make them really intuitive to use and very shoppable versus simply a gimmick that you play with and then don't ultimately add anything to your bag. VR, I think, works really well when you have a product or a brand story that you want people to learn more about and engage with. And again, it needs to be accessible. So, leveraging all these technologies that mean that you don't expect people to just simply have an Oculus headset lying around, things that can be more immediately accessed via people's simple smartphones that are still really powerful and engaging and successful. And then finally, I actually think live streaming is very interesting. There's definitely a formula for success. You do need to have a charismatic host who can really carry a live streaming. It's a very unique skill set, and not everybody can pivot to that. And also, of course, you need a brand or a product story that actually merits that deeper storytelling that customers actually want or need to engage with. And I think while it's still very new over here, what's interesting to see is that actually in China, it's been around since 2016 and continues to be hugely popular. And actually a lot of innovation that's happening in the live streaming category is really being around the Gen Z audience. So there's a lot of live streamed shopping that's launching on Instagram and TikTok, as I mentioned, as well as entire networks that are setting up to serve this kind of audience. So I think probably they'll connect more with the Gen Z audience, but obviously they're a really lucrative form of future consumer. Ultimately, if I had to invest my money anywhere, I'd place a safe bet on these live consultation services, which offer one-on-one access to experts, personalized product recommendations, enable you to interact with the experts in real time. I think that's where we're going to see the most return on investment, and certainly the statistics to date really speak for themselves. So I think those are all of the questions that we've received. Thank you very much indeed for your time today. I hope it's been useful and interesting, and I will return to Sally. Thank you again for kindly hosting us today.
Thank you so much, Sally Ann. That was a really, really fascinating session. I think we've come back into September, and actually there was some brilliant inspiration, some fantastic examples there, and really good food for thought. I know for sure I'd like to have my own avatar sometime soon. But it's really great to see brands, old and new, experimenting in this space and obviously developing quickly, and the fact that, it is great to have those kind of launches like the Fenty Skin launch, so innovative, so live. You can kind of sort of imagine yourself there, which is fantastic, and that's something that we obviously will need to get used to. We can answer any further questions that anybody has. We've been having lots and lots of emails actually in from everybody who's been watching, saying how great this session was. So we're really, really grateful to you at Spring for all of that hard work. And we will post the presentation onto our website in the next couple of days. Obviously, we're continuing to offer regular webinars across a variety of topics that we hope that will help you and your businesses as we move forward through this pandemic and hurtle obviously towards the end of the year and Brexit. And so if you have anything that you'd like to ask of us, we're always here. The newsletter will come out on a Friday. Our new website is launching imminently. Bear with us, we've got a few glitches in the back end, such is life, but it's coming this week, we hope. But it's sally@cwuk.co.uk or info@cwuk.co.uk if we can help you at all. Next week, we'll be posting tickets for our virtual CW Beauty Awards. Obviously, we've had to move that from the spring of this year, and we're very excited to be putting on our very own first big virtual event of the autumn, which will take place on October the 15th. So look out for news on that. But for now, thank you so much, Spring. Thank you, CW team. Thank you all of you for joining us. Have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you soon.